Welcome back to week 3 of the strength training at home videos with yours truly, Yoga Genie. And sorry for the delay in the video, but I'm just so hoping that you'll be able to use this as a tool to incorporate strength training circuits into your home practice as needed. So we're going to do a recap of what we did in the classroom, and hopefully when you're at home you'll get to look at what I do, pause the video, try it on yourself, and maybe memorize this circuit in a way so that you're not really thinking about it, you're just kind of moving and breathing and doing the thing. And as I said in the previous videos, the general rule is for each movement you do it 3 times, so we call that 3 sets of each movement. And each movement you devote at least 5 to 15 repetitions. Now if it's a movement like plank pose or a movement like a steady hold dead bug where we're really working the core, you get to just do those till you drop. I mean, for some of us it's 5 breaths or 5 seconds. For others of us it's like 35 or 45 seconds. So you have a really wide range to work to. I would suggest that you have like a baseline. So for example, if you've started doing your plank poses and you could only last 5 seconds before the shoulders give out and the belly flops, then mark that and say, okay, started at 5 seconds. And then mark as you get a little bit longer. Maybe you test yourself to do 7 seconds and then 10 seconds, and then build on that stamina that you have from the belly strength that then feeds into the arms. So just to give yourself a little bit of a challenge at home, maybe keep track of where you started and then where you've worked toward to see like, wow, you know, if I put time into this, I really do have a result. And set reasonable goals so that you don't feel like a failure. You know, you're not setting yourself up for something you can't do. So anywho, with all that said, let's do the movements. So as I said from the last video, let's start with our core. This is what feeds into all the other movements. So we'll start on our back body, dead bug routine. I'll just give you the fast forward version of what you might do on the floor. For some of us, we may add weight. I'll show you what that might look like. Others of us just put a block between the thighs as a reminder to give a little inward squeeze of the legs, but others of us might add weight. Now this is only if your back doesn't feel compromised and if you don't feel like you're taking too much on in the hips. So I've got my little 3.5 pound ball here. These are quite affordable. You can find them on Amazon or something, and they're a really great thing to have. You can just fire them in a closet. They don't take up much space, but they're really great to have to practice stuff at home. So let's start on the back. And we've just become familiar with our pelvic tuck and tip. This is a really great way also to massage the spinal cord, because as we inhale and arch the back, notice my chin starts to tuck a little bit. I'm tugging on that spinal cord, and then as I exhale, I tuck the low back into the floor and my chin lifts a little bit. Inhaling, arch, little tug of the spinal cord, exhale, tuck, low back into the floor. So this is just a way to familiarize ourselves with where pelvic neutrality is. And every time we do this, it might feel a little bit different. You might have more mobility some days in one direction and less in another day. So really using this as your baseline for pelvic awareness. It's really where everything starts, is in this pelvis. So getting familiar with it, how it moves, where it likes to be, where it doesn't like to be, is a really great practice. Even if it feels like you're not doing anything, it's really a beautiful thing to have in your day. So from here, we find pelvic neutral, hip points pointing straight up to the ceiling. They're not pointing up to the heart or into the thighs, hip bones straight up to the ceiling. Once I find pelvic neutral, I can start doing little bits of dead bugs. Exhale, lifting one foot. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lifting other foot. Trying to not let these hip bones wobble at all. So it's just little steps to begin, and maybe those steps become a little bit bigger extensions in the legs, and you do this with your breath. Every exhale is where you move. I'm not demonstrating that, I'm going in fast forward, but do it really slowly at home so that when you exhale, at the end of the exhale, you make your move. That's where the belly is most stable. Next thing we might do is take arms and legs up and find this shape just here. And we have a tendency sometimes to arch or tuck. So if it feels really easy and you're not working your belly at all, just take those knees away from you a little bit and find that place where it kind of locks in, and then hold and breathe here. From here you might do opposite arm, opposite leg. Or you might find a place where arms and legs are separated and you're like, oh man, I can barely hang on without compromising the spine. So find that place. Now for those of us who are feeling more advanced and like, man, I've been doing this for weeks and I'm just like bored, take a weight between the knees and start to add a little weight to those legs. And it becomes a little smaller movement, but wow, it'll light up really fast. So that's one place you could go. Another place with the weight, you might drop it to the side a little bit and bring it back up for those trunk rotations. So all of this back body core movement is really a great place to begin isolating and waking up the belly. So let's take that weight away, and now we'll move into working the belly in a plank pose. So find yourself nice and easily rolling to one side, and when you come into a plank pose, you could start on your forearms, palms down, or forearms, palms together. Palms together is going to be a little bit easier. So let's try that first. Tuck those toes behind you. You could always drop your knees and practice just being here, anchoring from wrist to elbow. Very hard to do, but anchor from wrist to elbow. And then maybe when you're ready, lift those knees. Lower them and lift them. Now you might stay lifted and just hold this static. If you get tired, just belly flop. Give your belly a little stretch, a little rest. And if you're feeling like you got some gusto, palms down, elbows down, and really root fingertips, finger pads, wrists, elbows, pressing up. And from here, you could hold steady, a little bit different action, having the palms down instead of in prayer hands. And then the final would be little stairs. You might hold an upward plank here. It's a little bit easier to be up here than it is on the forearms. So any of those variations for planking, and as I said, just set a little timer or maybe a mental timer and see where you are and where you could progress to with planking. So from plank, let's do, come up to our feet and do some work on the feet. So our triangle lever. Now the triangle pose in yoga, we've got our front toes, let's just say our right toes are facing forward, and our back toes are pointing out to the side, but they're pointing a little bit forward because our first movement is to square the hips forward, let those arms float. So we're going to inhale facing the front toes. As we exhale, it's one exhale to open up, lever, and lift. Exhale, inhale, lift. So this is the movement, and here is a place where we might choose to add a little bit of weight. So if we did, it'd be these weighted handballs or any kind of little weight you have at home. And with those hands up, same motion, open up, add a little bit of weight, and come back through. And you do this on each side, anywhere from 5 to 15 repetitions. If you're only going to use one of the balls, I'd recommend it in the bottom arm. It's not as compromising for the shoulder. With this shoulder up in this way, for some of us it can feel like, oh, I don't want to strain, so just keep the weight down here. You'll just get a nice extra pull here as you come up, open, and add a little weight to the bottom hand and come up. You know, some of us might like it in the upper hand. You get to choose, but this is the movement. Triangle lever. And then when you're done, just switch sides and do the same thing on the other side. Triangle lever. Yeah. So once your triangle lever has been complete, 5 to 15 repetitions, we'll do some leg work. So this is going to be a really cardiovascular movement. So you get to choose what order you put these movements in. For me, I would actually do my core, and then I might do the triangle lever because it's kind of a stretch. And so now we're going to get some cardio going with the lunges and the squats. So as we remember, squat movements, our feet are wide and our toes are turned out a little bit. It helps with the bend in the knees to have those toes turned out a touch. And so as we squat, we can have our hands here and we just lower and lift. Hands on the hips, lower and lift. So this is just our basic squat movements. We're not leaning forward, we're coming straight down. Now for some of us, we would just do those in isolation, squatting. And if that's what you're doing, you might add a little weight. Now I've got a little more weight because all I'm doing is lowering and lifting. So if you're just doing squatting in isolation, squatting and maybe add a press. Squat and add a press. Yeah, so this might be a squat variation that you do. And then if you want to do some lunging once more, we've got the same lunge concept, dropping and lifting. dropping and lifting, and doing 10 to 15 or 5 to 15 of those. But if you want to step it up and do like we did in class and combine the two, that's where the cardiovascular comes in. So one leg at a time, we're going to be stepping out, squatting, and then stepping forward, lunging. Stepping to the side, squatting, stepping forward, lunging. So you see, I'm floating the foot the whole time. You don't have to float the foot. You could step in, got my balls in the way, and then step forward. Step out, squat, step together, step forward. Now you see I've got my hands here. I'm just like excited to have something in my hands. So if you want to add some more, swing, bicep curl. Swing, bicep curl. And you do this 10 to 15 or 5 to 15, whatever you're feeling like, each leg. So once I get that leg done, I step out here and step forward. Squat, swing, lunge, curl. Squat, swing, lunge, curl. And I'm going fast forward, so be sure to take your time and get your proper alignment, weight in the heels, tail heavy, not leaning into the toes to compromise the knees. So that is our lunge squat option. And then we've got speed skater. So speed skater, we're really familiar with now. It's a side step. That knee bends and we reach over and come back. We could have the arm swing. We could have the balance. We might add, again, weights to the hands. Same movement, start up top here, step out, swing back, balance. Woo. Swing back, balance. Switching sides. Swing back, balance. Now for those of us who want that extra edge, add a little instability. You might not have this at home, but that's okay. But if you just have access to something, maybe you're at the gym or something and you see one of these little pads, you could do this movement there. Arms up, maybe you balance. Woo. And then step out and up, out and up. Just a little instability to ground the foot and practice stabilizing in the foot and ankle. So speed skaters with the twist, adding a little weight, adding a little instability. And then the final movement, this is a little bit different when you're at home because you don't have a partner. So I happen to have these resistance bands at home and they're really cheap. You can get them at Target. They're like 10 bucks. They're so cheap. So I happen to have this one that's like 2 of them tied together. I was kind of playing around with how I might want to introduce this in the video. One thing we could do is find a wall sit, not super deep. Our legs are going to be tired, but just a little wall sit. And then from here, just pulling those arms open. And I'm getting a lot of work in the muscles behind my shoulder blades called the rhomboids. I'm also getting a lot of work in my triceps and shoulders by doing this. Just opening and letting these back. Now you're noticing I'm not going, I'm keeping the resistance there the whole time. Never letting that tension go. The more tension on the muscle, the more work it's doing. Okay, another thing I was playing with, if you want to play with this, it's a little crazy I know, but some of you I know can do this. So I had added a balance. Here, see if I can do it on camera. So with a balance, this kind of feels good here. I'm getting a little stretch and balance, and then I'm rowing. So it's that same row movement we did with a balance. And you'd be surprised at the stability here because I have this to push against with my foot. So it's not hanging out in space. And so you have this option to practice a balance and a row if you're at home on your own. It's fun to just create things, you know, I just make them up so you could make them up too. And so using resistance bands is an excellent way to build tone in the muscle because of the eccentric and concentric tension. As the muscle expands and shortens, there's tension at both ends. And that's just a really great place to get the muscle completely, rather than just isolating it in like a one direction, you're getting it in both directions, up and down. And resistance bands are so diverse. You can do bicep curls with them. You can do a tricep extension here. So resistance bands at home are a really great thing to have, just in general. Anywho, so that's the routine. When you're done with your strength training routine, I recommend forward folding with bent knees. Take a nice easy break, let the neck and shoulders release. Maybe you can balance and stretch the quads out, whether you're standing up or lying on your side on the floor. But just give yourself time to stretch. Another good one would be a pyramid pose where you're pulling your hips back to get the IT bands. So just finding some stretching in the body, and of course rolling to help you release. So that is week 3 video. I'm tired, as you can tell. I'm talking and doing them at the same time. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you get something out of this, and I hope that you can figure out ways that this stuff fits into your life and on a personal level, so it's not this one size fits all, it's your way. And I really want to hear from all of you. Feedback, comments, questions. I'm so available. So take care of yourselves. Stay strong, breathe a lot, drink a lot of water, and just have fun. Make it a playful thing. It's not got to be so serious. So I wish you all the best. I really do. And thank you again for participating and allowing me to share this love of mine with you. So be well. Namaste.